Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Corey and Preston here with DFI, and we're here to break down today's boom slate. We got one NBA game between the Warriors and Rockets. Hoping for a good one. Last one got a little away from the Warriors, from the Rockets. How do you feel about this game, Preston?
Yeah, this series should be super fun. I mean, it's two of the best teams in the league. A bunch of people are saying this is virtually the NBA Finals, even though it's in the Western Conference Finals. Both these teams are super fun to watch. It'll be a fun game, I think, regardless. I do think Golden State wins this series, but hopefully Houston will be able to keep it a little closer than they did last game. And I mean, the first half was just back and forth. It was awesome. So I expect more of the same, and just another great game in this series.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, we'll be covering the $2 progressive jackpot for everyone today. And when we look at it, we see three Warriors and one Rocket in the points category. I think
Yeah.
Boom kind of saw the way the first game went and got a little ahead of themselves, possibly. But we'll just go into it with James Harden, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson for most points. What stands out to you?
Yeah, we have probably four of the top projected scores on the game tonight in this category. For me, it's just really tough not to like James Harden here. The Warriors, though I like the Warriors to win, and usually when we think a team wins, that we're gonna want to take a player from that team. But for me, the big difference here is the Rockets have James Harden score a ton of points, and then they have Chris Paul who will pitch in 20 or so, and then they have Capella who will give you 15, give you a bunch of rebounds. But other than Harden, they just don't have anybody that's a pure scorer. The Warriors have, I mean, as you can see here, they have Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and then they have Draymond who will give you some, and they got a bunch of guys off the bench that will give you points. So for me, I'm just picking Harden. He has just a massive usage in this series. He's going to have to play just incredibly well to win this game, win a game in this series. As we saw last game, he scored 41 and they still lost. So for me, Harden is in a similar spot as like LeBron is. He's just going to have to do so much for his team, and I think really with the Warriors, Steph could put up 40 and Durant could put up 25, or vice versa, or Clay could go off. There's just so much uncertainty. I think Harden is the safe pick with probably the most upside. So he's my surefire pick here.
Yeah, I really like that pick there. Something that really stood out to me was the Rockets led the league in isolation plays with 22 per game. Last game they ran 47. The majority of those were Harden. He got 41 points, took the normal shot attempts that he's been taking during the year at around 24. And he's just trying to do it all himself. I really hope he doesn't try to do that tonight because we saw what happened last game. It just doesn't work that well. But I think the fact that he did that just kind of shows you that he's trying to take matters in his own hands. And like you said, I think that's a safer pick. I think a lot of people will shy away from Steph Curry after only getting 18 in that last game. But I mean, he could explode at any point as well. Klay Thompson can put up 30 and a quarter, like we know, and Durant does Durant things. I agree. I would absolutely go Harden here as your optimal pick, and then I kind of lean Curry for a close two. Um, in the rebounds category, we have Draymond Green, Clint Capella, Kevin Durant, and PJ Tucker. Do you have a favorite here as well?
Yeah, for me, I think Capella just is kind of head and shoulders above the rest of these guys. He's just been a monster on the boards all playoffs really for the Rockets, and I think he's the one guy that I would project to get a double double here. Draymond and Kevin Durant, they can both get their rebounds. They can both get double digit rebounds. But for me, I think even if Draymond, like when he gets a triple double, even his rebounds are like 10 to 12. And I think Capella almost has like a floor of that. And then Durant, he's going to score a ton. He only had like 3 rebounds last game. He holds a lot more of a scoring. He has to score a lot more for this team. The Rockets don't have anybody that can guard him, so he's going to be focusing a lot more on the scoring aspect of things. I don't think he'll try to get as many rebounds, especially with Draymond and David West and Looney, all those guys in there. I think Capella's kind of just my pick here. He only had 6 rebounds last game, but as you can see, if you go look at his game longs, that's almost his absolute lowest rebound total of the entire playoffs. So I think he's just the best projection for double-digit rebounds, and really in this game, I think he should be the highest rebounding player.
Yeah, I love the pick, and I think a lot of people are probably going to shy away from Capella due to that. The thing I love to bring up the most when we do these shows is the usage factor. And we talked about how Harden just took over the game and did his own thing. He ignored Capella a ton when he was open, just for what it's worth, even though this isn't a points category. But you're looking at 10% usage for Capella last game, 6 rebounds, and 5% usage for Capella the previous game against the Jazz. Not that they needed him much, and 5 rebounds. And every other game, he's seeing at least 15%, seeing 15%, 15 to 20% usage, and getting double-digit rebounds. And I really, really believe that the Rockets are going to look at themselves, reevaluate after last game, and switch up their game plan. And Capella only saw 29 minutes. I think they got to use him more. I think that's their advantage this series. The Warriors don't have a big guy to compete with him down low. And I think a lot of people are going to see a rejuvenated Clint Capella tonight. So I like that pick, and I'd say Draymond's a close second. For most 3-pointers, this one's really interesting. We got Curry, Clay, Chris Paul, and Eric Gordon. I'm assuming you're between Curry and Klay Thompson.
Yeah. This one's definitely interesting. Last game, oddly enough, Curry would have been dead last out of these four guys. But if you're looking at, I like looking at like usage in the playoffs, not necessarily using the whole year. But if you look at 3-point attempts in the playoffs for all of these guys, Curry only took 5 last game, and that's like very 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 towards the bottom of his playoff 3-point attempts. Um, for the past few weeks, he took 6 a few games ago, and other than that, it's 9, 9, 10, 8, 12, 9, 9, 9, 12. So it's just he just got so many fewer 3-point attempts last game. I would assume probably because Durant took so much of a scoring load. But I would think those would have to go back up. I think he could definitely put up 3, 4, or even like 6 or 7 threes. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off tonight. And I think the last game could even drive the ownership out of the 4 guys. I think he may be less used than he probably should be just because of that. Clay took 15 threes last game, and that's by far the most of the playoffs. So to me, and he only made 6 of them. So while that's a solid percentage, I don't see him shooting 15 threes again tonight. And then between the two Rockets guys, Gordon comes off the bench. He'll play maybe upwards of 30 minutes or so. But I think he's looking at 2 threes or so. He took 7 last game, I think, and that was towards the higher end of how many he's taken over the course of the playoffs. So and all he's probably the least of the worries out of these 4 guys. So to me, I'm going with Curry. I'm going back to that. Well, I don't think there's much of a reason that you can pick against him unless you just think the volume's not there, which to me, I think the last game was kind of an anomaly, and I think he'll take 8 to 10 tonight, and I think he can make 4 of them or something like that. He plays well against the Rockets, and to me, he's just the top pick overall here. He'll get the minutes and get the attempts. So I'm going with Steph Curry here.
That's a crazy stat you brought up about Klay Thompson. I hadn't even noticed that, but I mean, the man took 18 field goal attempts and 15 of them were threes. I don't know the last time I've seen that, unless you're Kyle Korver and he only shoots 8 times a game, maybe. I mean, that's pretty absurd. I think the sample size is way too small to jump on any of that. But he was wide open a lot of times when Curry and Durant were driving the lane. Just something to think about there. I absolutely agree with you on what you're saying with Curry. That volume's going to change. I think he takes more of a scoring role tonight, and I bet he outscores Durant. It's kind of my bold call tonight. I think these guys are neck and neck. I don't know what's going on with Klay Thompson, but he's not been accurate from the three-point line pretty much at all this entire playoffs. Maybe a little something to worry about, even though the shot attempts are there. So I think Curry and Thompson are neck and neck. I agree with Preston. I personally think Curry has a great night, so I'm also leaning Curry there. For the assist category, we have Draymond, James Harden, Chris Paul, and Steph Curry. What stands out?
Yeah. This one's close again. Got probably 4 of the higher assist guys of the game tonight. For me, I'm really liking Chris Paul here. He's had a double double in 3 of the last games, but 2 of those were rebounding double doubles. So that stat's a little tricky to think about. But his assists, he had a bunch of assists in the last or in 2 games ago. But his the I saw a stat earlier today. I can't exactly remember it, but it was something along the lines of a bunch of the times that he had assist opportunities, the guys were just missing shots. So he only had 3 assists last night, and he scored 23. So it's not like he just was shooting the ball every time he got the ball. The assist numbers were just low for some reason. The Rockets didn't shoot a great percentage from the 3-point line in the second half, and I'd assume that's probably where those misses were coming from. Um, I think you could probably multi-enter this category. This one's a little closer for me with just Harden, like we talked about earlier. The usage is just massive. But I think once again he's going to have to score a whole lot more. He didn't really look to pass the ball much at all last game, despite having I think he had 7 assists. But those came later in the game. So and then Draymond Green, he's kind of the safer option here. Um, I think Steph, as great of a player as he is, I think he's probably the lowest out of these 4 guys. But yeah, I think you could definitely multi-enter here, just with Chris Paul being the point guard of the offense, and then Harden just with his usage. He's definitely a candidate, and then I think Draymond's probably the safe option for maybe 8 to 10 or so. But yeah, I think I may go a little bit contrarian possibly here and go with Chris Paul. I think he has 12 to 14 assist upside, and I think he could fly a little bit under the radar here.
Yeah, I really like that call as well. Kind of agreeing with everything you have here. And while you were explaining yourself, I was looking into what you said, and I took 5 role players from Houston and Gerald Green, Eric Gordon, Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, and Luka Mbamute, and they were 11 for 35 from the field.
Yeah.
I don't know if Preston and I watched that game, but if you guys didn't, the Rockets had some open shots that just were not falling. That's a below 33% rate. He had 3 assists, so if he passed 1 to 3 of those each time, there you go. So I mean, there's a lot of upside to be had. Again, we can't really use a 1 game sample size, especially when shots weren't falling for the Rockets that were open. So absolutely see the upside for Chris Paul. We know Draymond Green's a triple double threat at any point. But yeah, I think there's absolutely merit to it, and I expect the Rockets to hit those open shots tonight. And then we have someone I really don't ever want to see for points.
One other thing with that, category is the only reason I think we could pick against Paul or Harden is if we think the stat you said earlier about how often the Rockets play ISO basketball. I think if you think that happens again, I think you could take Draymond Green, but the Rockets had 18 assists last game, which is a very low number. So yeah, I think Chris Paul is a definite positive regression candidate here. With Draymond being an option, if you think they just played ISO ball every game again, or every possession again.
Yeah, and we do expect them to change their tactics because they know this didn't work well. And speaking of ISO ball, we have the ISO king and James Harden for points. What are you thinking?
Man, this one's interesting. I did see a stat last night when I was watching the game, and Harden's scoring average in game ones of this playoffs is 41 points per game. He scored 41. He scored 44 against Minnesota, 41 against Utah, or I guess it was 42. 41 against Utah and 41 last night against Golden State. But in games 2 through 7, so every other game, his scoring average is 25. So that's a little interesting. I don't know exactly what would have caused that, but it's clear that he scores a ton, and I mean his shot attempts are around 22 to 26 every game. So it's not like he's just shooting the ball a whole lot more in game ones. He just plays better. I don't know if it's just getting a little break between series that he just gets re-energized. So for me, I don't think I'm going to look at projecting him for 40. I think I'd want to go maybe around 30. Maybe just play it a little bit low. I think when we're saying we think Chris Paul gets a bunch of assists, I think those role players, like you're saying, I think they shoot better from the field. I don't think Harden needs to take as big of a scoring role, or at least a shot attempts role. I think those assists for him probably hover around that 7 to 8 range. But yeah, I think he can definitely be the highest scorer in this game, but to project him looking at that 40 point range, that's just way too high for me. So I'd probably go maybe 30, maybe 29 to 33 or 30 to 34 for me. Um, but yeah, this one's gonna be super tough. I don't. It's just really hard to project a range of even 5 points for Harden to score tonight.
Yeah, I think I was thinking very low 30s as well, maybe 30, 33-ish as well. Just for that reason that if they would have won game one, or I mean, maybe if the shots from all their role players went in, Harden would go back to doing the same thing. But I just think they're all going to take a step back and look at it and try to work it more as a team. Because the one
Yeah,
thing that Golden State has over every other team, other than obviously their four All Stars, is they work as a team. They don't
yeah,
play iso ball very much at all,
yeah.
unless one of the other ones are injured. Yeah, again, I think that low 30 range for Harden is where you really want to aim. I think a lot of people are going to try to hit that high end. Um, just don't really see it again, especially with the Rockets fighting to figure out their game. Um, and the last guy we'll have is Kevin Durant, who absolutely stole the show last game. No one on the Rockets could guard him. What kind
Mhm.
of performance are you expecting?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got to go back to him. Curry didn't have a great game, but and while I do think they factor in Curry a whole lot more, Curry only took 15 shot attempts, so he took a decent amount less than Durant, who took 27. Um, I think Durant still scores the ball well, and even though he took 27 shots and he only scored 37 points, and I say only because the points per shot attempt is very low. Usually, you want to see about double, see points a little bit higher than the shot attempts, and he was 50% from the 3 point line, and he made all of his free throws. So I think going a little bit less than 37 is probably the move. I don't think we see that performance again. I think, like I was saying earlier with the points category, they just have so many guys that are so great. I think Curry could put up 25 or so, and I think Clay could put up this a similar amount, and I don't think Draymond scores 5 points again. So I think probably looking Durant a few less than Harden, maybe looking at 28 to 30 or so is probably where I'd project him. I think he shoots the ball a ton again tonight. I don't know, about 27 times. That's about the most he's taken in over the course of the whole playoffs. So yeah, I'm probably looking at maybe 27 to 31. 28 to 32 is probably where I project him for.
Yeah, I was thinking something around the 25 to 28 range, just because,
Yeah,
again, I'm just thinking Steph Curry might take over the show tonight. They kind of like to alternate, is what I've noticed.
yeah,
So I expect a little bit of that, just on an edge. Nothing from game one really says that. But usually teams adjust their game plan after seeing what the other team throws at them. Golden State threw out 27 shot attempts from Kevin Durant. So just maybe little things shaken up, but we'll see. I saw Clint Capella trying to guard Kevin Durant a little bit, which is pretty interesting. Maybe we see some of that, but they had Clint Capella switching off on screens, so that's not a guaranteed thing
yeah.
either. But we wish you luck, guys. That'll do it for this boom slate. I know Preston will be breaking down the this, what is it even called, like showdown slate.
Showdown, yeah, showdown on DraftKings and the single game slates on FanDuel. So yeah, we'll be over in the war room for that from an hour before the game starts tonight. So yeah, so if y'all are if anybody's playing any DFS tonight, we've been having some fun with these one game slates. They're definitely interesting compared to the regular season of DFS. But yeah, we've been researching throughout the day, and yeah, we're excited for the game tonight.
Absolutely. So head on over right after the show, and then good luck on your boom strategy, and we will see you next time.